Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you why I still have hope for Unending Swarm. I've gone on to say that I don't think Unending Swarm is our worst attachment. Even after everything, I still don't think it is. I've said what I think is the new worst, but I would like to finally make a video explaining why I still have hope for this detachment and why I still think it's, I wouldn't say terribly viable, but not as bad as one may think. Well, let's start what we have with Unending Swarm. Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot after that unit has finished making its attacks, if one or more models from one or more endless multitude units from your army were destroyed as a result of those attacks, each such unit can make a surge move. To do so, roll 1d6. That unit can be moved a distance in inches up to the result, but that unit must end that move as close as possible to the closest enemy unit excluding aircraft. When doing so, those models can be moved within engagement range of enemy units. A unit cannot make a surge move while it is battle shocked. So, that's our detachment rule, which I don't think many people played into. With the first iteration of Unending Swarm, we saw Turvagon and the Termagants. And neither one of those really want to be that far up, right? The Termagants with Spinefish do have the ability to fire within combat, so they go up, but then it tends to be a little bit of, well, I have a lot of OC bodies. I'm just going to play on the objective, score my points, my primary there, send some little shit to do an objective over there, right? But nobody really capitalized on what surge moves do. At least not from Tyranids players. I see that people don't really get the aspect of you have to keep going. Um, or you should. Not to say that you have to. Because if that's not the playstyle that you're comfortable with, it won't work out for you. And even if it is comfortable for you, it still might not work out for you, right? But a surge move is telling you to push. You are not supposed to, well, I could use my surge move here, here, and here. I'm going to use none of it because I really want to stand still here. I don't think that's the detachment for you if that's what you're going to do. So to that extent, I don't think that Termagants and Turvy was ever the go-to move. We have endless multitude units for Gargoyles, Hormagaunts, Termagants, and Neurogaunts. Now, Unending Swarm was best for us at one point in time because Termagants had assault weapons and they had pistol. So, at the time in Leviathan, you could do actions even if you advanced with assault because you were still eligible to shoot, and you could do it with pistols because in combat engaged you were still eligible to shoot. Right? That was the workaround, and that's why we had Termagants winning so hard. I shouldn't even say winning so hard. It did enough, right? Don't think we took down anything too major with an ending form that I can remember. But that's why you saw Termagants, because at the time the rules allowed for us to score points even easier, and we weren't killing shit. You might argue we still don't kill shit in Tyranids. But that's why it was Termagants. It was the best option because I could still shoot while getting points and being in places and get primary. However, with Unending Swarm, you want speed. Let me ask you why we don't use Gargoyles in Unending Swarm. Is it because Gargoyle Jail is better somewhere else? I like it in Vanguard Onslaught because you can turn one Deep Strike Gargoyles. People will say that it's good in Warrior Bioform Onslaught now because you can attach a Prime and now they have a 5-up invuln, right? I've said that in the past it was viable in Synaptic Nexus because, Wing Prime or not, if there's some Synapse, for a turn you have a bunch of bodies with, again, a 5-up invuln, right? But why aren't we doing Gargoyles in Unending Swarm? Now, there was a time where we did enough Gargoyles, but we didn't skew hard into it because we had Termagants. Gargoyles have this lovely little ability into which, actually, let's pull it up, right? And let's pull up my other friend. Gargoyles have this lovely ability, Wing Swarm. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, if it is not within engagement range of any enemy units, it can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. If it does, until the end of the turn, this unit is not eligible to declare a charge. However, it is still eligible to surge within engagement range. And if gargoyles are just to put people back, gargoyle jail is our shit, right? If that's what I want my gargoyles to do, making it so that now they are 3 inches away from my opponent because I shoot and scoot, and then my opponent hits them because they don't want to be blocked by them, and now I surge them further. Yeah, we should have been using more gargoyles from the start, if you ask me. Same to the extent of Hormigons. Hormigons got overshadowed madly because gargoyles were our best unit in the Codex for a bit, and Termagants for the aforementioned how we scored points. However, Hormigons do have 10 inches of movement that can advance and charge. I've loved the Hormigons mainly because I was like, oh, look at the little raptors. But then also, this is nice. Now, I should also note, we received another buff that favors Hormigons more than it did the Termagants or the Gargoyles. With Synapse, you now go up to Strength 4. Now, this comes to a bittersweet point of contention when talking about Unending Swarm, in the fact that the other thing that put Termagants in favor of being the de facto Endless Multitude is that thanks to Turvy, and now thanks to the Hive Tyrant, with their shots, they can have lethals, right? And lethal bypasses the bullshit of you firing with terribly low strength things, right? Let's go to the Termagants. Pull those up. Spinefish, it's 2 shots, strength 3, but assault pistol twin linked, okay? So that means that if you roll a 6, you have a chance to get a wound on your opponent, whatever the fuck it is. And with twin linked, that's another chance too, right? Now, mind you, that's only 2 attacks. So, that's 2 attacks per model, and you combine that with the fact that Termagants have a way to keep coming back, not only because of Unending Swarm in the previous Unending Waves, but you also have Turvy, who is replenishing the unit. So, the amount of shots eventually helps out, but it should be remembered that you're not playing this because you actually want to do damage. You're playing this because you want to score points, and you just so happen to have the chance to do some chip wounds on the way. Going to the Hormigons, though, now looking at strength of 4 with Synapse and AP -1 with 3 attacks per model, the math probably still favors Termagants. I haven't done it against like all targets, but for most things that you will engage with, it's fair enough. Okay? Now, sure, you can have Termagants start doing damage on about T8 and above, right? Because that's where Hormigons need A6 with Synapse to get wounds through. But beyond that, you still have Hormigons with 5 attacks wounding on 5s. I'm sorry, with 3 attacks wounding on 5s. But now they have AP -1, which is better than AP 0. So the wounds that do go through actually might go through. And even if there was AP 1 with Spike Rifle, the benefit of cover, you were doing it with AP 0. So looking towards that, Hormigons have once again come into favor. So you have gargoyles that probably should have been the key focus from the jump, now going to a 3-inch deep strike, quote unquote, and then surging into the opponent that doesn't want to get blocked by gargoyles. But now they are going to get blocked by gargoyles because if you leave them alone, I will move them into you. And if you don't touch them, sorry, if you touch them, I will move them into you. And if you don't touch them, I will move them into you. Either way, the gargoyles are getting into you. And follow that up by waves of Hormigons that, again, they're not going to actually do that much damage, right? They're not going to do that much damage, but they will also tie you up and do surprising amounts of damage. And going to the surprising amounts of damage for the Termagants as well. You have the fact that we were bringing Exocrines, and you have access to Swarming Masses, which gives you sustained hits 1, and crits on 5s if it's 15 or more models. So sustained lethal, crits on 5s, re-rolling 1s, was again the, well, I am doing more damage than I probably should be allowed to do because of everything set up. But that's where we stand on the primary Endless Multitude units. We do have Neurogaunts, but they actually do about nothing. However, they are cheap for their points, so maybe if somebody wants to take that skew, fair enough. Now, I also want to address the main thing as to why we stopped playing Unending Swarm. GW put out the change that any stratagem that lets you bring back an entire unit can only be used once per game. For us, that's Unending Waves. Any phase, one Endless Multitude unit from your army that was just destroyed, you can use the stratagem on that unit even though it was just destroyed. Add a new unit to your army identical to your destroyed unit in strategic reserves as its starting strength. Any stratagem that included something like that is now once per game. We saw it with Astra Militarum, and we've seen it now with Crude Hunting Pack. Now, that is a big blow. But I've also done the math to compare that to doing it in Invasion Fleet. Assuming you don't have Turvy, and I know we now have a pretty decent Assimilation Swarm, so that doesn't... Assimilation Swarm wins the regen by a mile. But if we were to look up at Invasion Fleet, right? Take Invasion Fleet, Unending Waves. I've already shown this math before. But you have Endless Swarm. You can return up to D3 plus 3 destroyed models to each of the selected units for 2 Endless Multitude units from your army that are within Synapse range from your army, or 1 other Endless Multitude unit from your army. So, if you only use this on 1 unit per phase, or per command phase, right? Probably not doing it in your first one, but let's go there. The average at D3 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Then you have another 15. So yeah, about 25 models if you were only to do it for 1 unit. Now, you add another 10 if you hit 2 Endless Multitude units, you go up to 35. That's also, however, 5 CP if you were to do that with Endless Multitude. If we were to go for 2 CP to 2 CP, you do D3 plus 3 2 times over. Well, technically 4 times over, I guess. So the average again, go to 2 plus 3. So that's 5, 10, 20. So for 2 CP, over here with Endless Swarm, you have probably 20 models back for Unending Waves. Now, if you do want to make your game plan that, where you have Turvy, you're using Endless Swarm several times throughout the game, Invasion Fleet probably will win you out. But then going back to my issue with how Unending Swarm has been played, you want to put shit in your opponent's face. It's nice that I have one more unit to do it, and it didn't cost me another 120, 130 points to do so. 170 points for gargoyles, right? It didn't cost me that to do so. However, I can do that for the cost of 2 CP when I really need it. And it's not as good as it used to be. I'm not going to act like it is. It's objectively worse, right? But unless you want to make that in your entire game plan in Invasion Fleet, I think the math compares for Unending Swarm. Now, with the biggest weakness out the way, what else should I have to say about this? Well, the stratagems are pretty nice, actually. Like I said, we already covered Sustained Hits 1, crits on 5s. Again, going to Strength 4, AP 1. Yeah, people might be a little bit upset that Hormigons are punching them in the face. Synaptic Goading gives you some objective marker play with Surge move. That, again, you should be surging. If you should be surging, right? Now, I will also, at this point, because I forgot to say this at the beginning, mention that I do not like moving that many models. I don't. So, if you're hoping that I'll do all of it, probably won't be me. I don't even own that many Hormigons, right? Or that many Gargoyles to do this. But for the dedicated that do like moving a lot of tiny models, I'm just here to say, you probably still can with us. You probably still can with us. And I'll talk about now might be an okay time to try it too, in a bit. But Synaptic Goading gives you objective marker play for the surge move you should be making. Bounding Advance, again, nobody was really doing it because it was like, well, do I need my Termagants to auto advance 6? Yeah, I got Assault on them, but like, do I really need it? For Hormigons, give them 16 inches of movement compared to 14? No, sorry, compared to 12. Compared to 12, give them 16 inches. I can't do math, right? I can do math. Nope, yeah. Give them 16 inches of movement and the ability to charge. Give them that. You should be keeping your opponent in their deployment zone for the game, essentially. We've seen Wolf Jail. You should be, that's the aim. I get it that we used to be have to score as many points as you can possibly do Army. We kinda are looking like we're going to do that again. But this is jail. Not just gargoyle jail. This is tiny body jail. You have pissed off the hive. Now the drones are coming to sting you. We're not going to sting enough so that we're just like right on the objective. I want you to stay in your deployment zone for 5 turns. I have the bodies. Good fucking luck. Okay? Then you have teaming masses, into which you can be -1 to hit in the shooting or the fight phase. We were already bringing Venom Thropes to cover our ass in the shooting phase. So guess what? In the fight phase, -1 to hit. That's annoying as fuck. And Preservation Imperative. All of a sudden, you can turn off Blast. Yeah, that thing that kind of affects hordes that really you don't want to go against. Yeah, Blast. Oh, I'm about to pick up this unit. Easy. There's Blast. Yeah, so there. But now that we know what the stratagems do, I've already talked in the past about how the enhancements are still good because they can't go on an endless multitude unit. They can go on whatever the fuck. Because, guess what? You need to put things on shits, and there's no endless multitude character, unless technically you want to say the Neuro Tyrant, because you can go to an endless multitude unit and attach. Well, the Winged Tyranid Prime too. But we have +2 move characteristic of models in the Bears unit. Put this on whoever you need to, that you just want to move a little bit faster. Naturalized camouflage, kinda shit for 30 points. First battle round, 3 endless multitude units, 9 inches from the bear, benefit of cover. Probably don't take that one. Probably not in the current day, probably don't need it. Piercing Talons, each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack on a critical wound, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. For 25 points, and our only source of bonus AP in the Tyranids Codex, right? I'm probably missing like one thing that I can't think of right now. Yeah, again, since it can go on whatever unit you want, yeah, that's pretty nice. Would I like it to just be in general instead of on critical wounds? Yeah, but you're either talking about Gene Stealers with AP minus 3. Well, sorry, not Gene Stealers, because on critical wounds it's devastating because you brought the Broodlord. You're looking at Warriors with AP minus 3. You're looking at the Hive Tyrant with AP minus 3. And damage 3. Not too bad, right? Or if you put that with Tyrant Guard too, possibly AP minus 3 if you take the 2 attack clause, but I mean, you're probably not looking to them to do actual damage. But they do have Twin Link, so there you go. And Adrenalized Onslaught. Each time the bearer's unit powers in or consolidates, models in that unit can move an additional 3 inches for 15 points for a unit. Uh, it seems like we're just now realizing how good this is on stratagems. So to have this as an enhancement for 15 points on my Broodlord Gene Stealers is very fucking nice. But now that we have the rundown of what's within Unending Swarm and why I still think it has play by itself, let's talk about the things outside of Unending Swarm that look a lot like Unending Swarm and why I still think Unending Swarm has play. Because it keeps working for other people. At the end of the day, a skew list is a skew list is a skew list. It will catch a tournament off by surprise when nobody's teching for it. We're looking at a very vehicle and monster heavy, well, not even monster heavy. We're looking at a very vehicle heavy meta right now. And yeah, if they don't have what it takes to blow, I don't know, 20 Hormigons that now turned off blast and are stealth -1 hit benefit of cover, surging at you, once they touch a tank, the tank turns off. They have to then focus on the damn things hitting it. Or how there are other infantry things in the game right now. That goes on to the, if we're talking about Strength 4 AP1, with 3 attacks per model, 60 attacks with sustained hits 1, crits on 5s, yeah, fuck you and what you wanted to do, basically. That's what we're looking at right now. But, going on back, Chaos Cult. Yeah, the Swarm thing, I get it. Their models are definitely better than our endless endless multitude units, right? The things in this list, the cursed cultists primarily and cultist mobs, better than our shit. But as we see, when you have a person that wants to play Chaos Cult with Derek Apshay, I'm sorry, 40k dirtbags, yeah, it does the thing. And the few people that go, alright, fine, it can't be that good, let's see how much it is, and they get the same results, yeah. Turns out, moving a bunch of tiny fucking models still has play. You go to the stratagems. Yeah, some of them are a bit better than ours, right? But we're not looking at I need to bring one unit back and that's my entire detachment. We're not looking at that here. They do have dark packs, which does give you an additional layer of sustained or lethals from damage output sequence, and then you realize how tough some of these motherfuckers are to kill. But we were throwing in Psychophages and Zoes for 6-up invuln and Venom Thropes for stealth. We've thrown that in our list before. Then you turn off Blast and you go, fuck, this is annoying, right? Hell, the Psychophages come down 20 points from when we were doing that. Now that the Zoes actually have a decent thing to attach to that give them a damage boost, now it's not as feel bad, and that thing can have the whole unit move 2 inches quicker. Yeah, that helps too. Maybe you want to give them bonus AP on critical wounds. That helps too. So we've seen Chaos Cult actually fucking dominate tournaments. So that's hope number one, that the type of list still does shit. The other thing that still has play, Skitarii Hunter Cohort. Now, mind you, it does expand the definition of what gets shit in these lists, but primarily what we see is a bunch of Taraxi, cough cough gargoyles, and a bunch of infiltrators and rust stalkers, cough cough hormigons. Now you can't compare things 1-to-1, they have different damage output, but for the goal, if I take my shooting scoot unit and you take your shooting scoot unit, and your shooting scoot unit has stealth, and it does that, and it's a little bit tougher to kill, and my shooting scoot unit doesn't have stealth because I'm like too far, right? But it has a surge move that means I scoot and then scoot again, basically, if you shoot. Yeah, it's shoot, scoot, scoot, shoot. Or I guess shoot, scoot, shoot, scoot. Yeah, there we go. I get to do the jail thing. We see Skitarii Hunter Cohort do the jail thing. We have the tools to do their jail thing. They have, once again, better options to damage output. They have that. They have 5 up Feel No Pain, but we have an aura of 6 up Feel No Pain, right? But again, we're not looking at a detachment that is, oh, I need to bring back points right here. We've seen other people do the shit that we can do, and so far 2 of them have had a dedicated advanced and charge stratagem when we have an entire unit that can just do that. There's a reason that they have that. It's because that's what you should be doing in these horde lists. For the most part. I will add 2 caveats after I talk about this next one. We go to Green Tide. Hey, if you bring boys specifically, and you got 10 or more of them, you get a 5 up invuln save. Less, 6 up invuln. And that's your detachment. That is your detachment. You are then focusing on having more than 10 boys in a unit at a time. Come On Lads is D3 plus 2 for 1 boys unit. We're not looking at an entire replacement. Look at the stratagems and you tell me what I'm really needing out of this. Reroll wound rolls of 1, 10 or more, reroll the wound roll. That's not sustained, it's not lethals, right? Now, mind you, they do get scarier in the WoW, but fuck. That's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at a detachment that says you want 10 or more boys, and then they got a 5 of invuln. Within there, they have access to pain boys, so they get Feel No Pain on top of that. But, you know, the stealth, they have transports. They do have transports on us, right? But beyond that, you're playing Green Tide. You're putting down a bunch of boys. And all 3 of these are still getting results. This one by the only person that seems to want to play it. This one by everybody who wants to play it. Now, mind you, not topping tournaments. But 4-1 consistently. And that's sometimes all you need to be is a 4-1 detachment. And Green Tide, you go, Green Tide disappeared too. But that's the thing. If the Orcs players finally went, okay, maybe I have a lot of boys. Maybe instead of actually just giving it all the way up, I try it again. And what happens when they try it again? They get results. Just one. Not just one, but they just won an event. Which is why I'm talking about this, right? Because I look over and I go, how is it that Green Tide can win an event, have a 25% 4-0 event start out of the only people that are willing to take it, and be right now the second best detachment stat wise. But we can't do it in Unending Swarm. Now, there are a lot of factors on us, and before I move on to that, I also want to show AdMech, Skatari Hunter cohort. Hey, don't have 4 and O's, but again, tried and true. And let's look at Chaos Space Marines while we're here, just for the hell of it. Are we at Chaos Cult? So again, if it works for everybody else, I think that the style of list just fucking works. The numbers just fucking work. Now, I will go on to add the caveats, as to which our shit is a little bit different. But, here's my thing, okay? Here is my thing. We can close out Invasion Fleet. It is interesting when our few people that would have done Unending Swarm say that they don't have hope for it anymore. And I do want to remind people there's player skill and there's player preference with everything. I enjoy taking things, throwing them at my opponent, and going good fucking luck. Whether that be big monsters, whether that be Von Rhin's Leapers, whether that be Hormigons. I'm not adding the rest because I am not that much of a small body uh, unit person, right? But you take that, and then you look, you have to consider why other people aren't doing it. What units do those people prefer in that? If nobody wants to take Hormigons because they're uncomfortable with Hormigons, guess what? You're not going to see the strength of Unending Swarm come out because it is asking you to get in fucking melee range, preferably sooner than later. I'd rather do that with 16 plus another 12, 28-inch threat range, and then add a surge move. I'd rather do it with that unit, right? We also don't have things that benefit us in melee, right? We don't have that. We have access to Neuralictor for +1 to wound, and the list kind of stops there on what we can do in melee. However, we do have the Winged Hive Tyrant to make it so that -1 attacks characteristic to things going into us. But the list kind of stops there. So you can't really fault that in the aspect of, well, shit. What else is to be done? But if we see it work for every other faction that is doing that, why not? And on that, you might be wondering why I left out Kroot Hunting Pack. Not because I was just like, oh, well, Kroot, this doesn't fit my narrative if I put Kroot Hunting Pack into it, right? It doesn't fit my narrative. I can't do that. But more so, Kroot Hunting Pack is closer to our Warrior Bioform Onslaught. Why is that? Well, let's do one of these. Let me scroll up, go to Tau. And we go to Kroot Hunting Pack. Yeah, they had a replacement stratagem. But they have 5 up invuln against range, 6 up invuln against melee for all Kroot models. So yes, if the Kroot players want to play these games and only use Carnivores and Farstalkers, fine, go for it. But all of your Kroot benefit from your Detachment rule. A 5 up invuln on T6 bodies is different than a 5 up invuln on T3 bodies. Or are they T4? Whatever. All of this works for all of your Kroot. So yeah, we could sit here and act like, but Kroot Hunting Pack, right? The rules are closer to Warrior Bioform Onslaught. They're just closer. And then even then, crew players aren't playing Crude Hunting Pack. You know why? Because they have this. Auxiliary Cadre. It's just better for the people that want to take crew. So, we could put that in there just as an aside, but, that's where we stand on it. Unfortunately. So, all that said, Unending Swarm, I feel, still has play. It has play. The type of play that it has been working out for everybody else. We just need to do it differently than what we used to do with units that have now better tactics or options than we had before in the case of Synapse. So yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.